between games here at the game table, and before we get into the next one, it's discussion time. This is Table Topics, where we read stories from Reddit having to do with situations in the tabletop world. We will react, discuss, and give our opinions on the chosen topics for you to enjoy and possibly take back to your gaming table. I'm your host, Kalee, and my guest today is Ashley.
Hi, guys.
Today's topic is gaming with family. So let's get into it. Most of us tabletop gamers were introduced to the hobby by our families. And I would go so far as to say that even now, many of us play mostly with our families. It can be an opportunity to bond, spend quality time, and implant core memories.
Yeah, I grew up playing games with my grandparents, my cousins, and still to this day, that's a very big part of our gatherings for the holidays. We like to sit around the table and catch up and play games. So I very much relate to that.
I love that. So we'll get into a story. This is the first story. We're kind of going to age up as we go along in these stories. So this first one is having to do with some kiddo problems here. Okay. And it comes from r/AITA. And it says, "Am I the problem for refusing to change my board game piece so my 6-year-old could have it?" So this is pretty trivial, but my male 28 girlfriend, female 26, and I disagree here pretty strongly. So we were having a game night and I introduced a new board game I played a lot with my siblings as a child. I've always used the red token, and I'm similar with most board games having a set character. This character is no more special than the rest. There are no abilities or anything else to consider. So after about 4 games where I used the same character the whole time, my 6-year-old decided he wanted to use said piece. I told him no, that's the piece I use, and he can pick another. 5 others to choose from. My girlfriend said I needed to share, which I disagree with. He wants the piece because it's the one I use. I've used this piece for over 20 years without fail. So I want to know, am I the problem?
Hot take out the gates. Yes, you are 1,000% the problem. And this is supposed to be fun. You are being a little overreactive to the situation.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy on the surface. A hot take out of the gate. Yes, it is sort of crazy. I understand that you can have a favorite, but I just love imagining myself as girlfriend, and your 6-year-old says, "I want to use that one." And you're like, "No." Just coming down so abrupt. And then it sounds like the 6-year-old kind of just went, "Okay," and moved on. But, come on. Come on, guy.
Buddy.
Let him have it.
Be a little friendly.
Yeah. I mean, even I don't have kids, but make it a thing.
Yeah.
Make a little show of it. Just say, "Oh, well, we have to have a ceremony where I bequeath to you the treasured game piece that I have used for 20 years. Like, I think that's one of the things you look forward to sharing with your children is the things that you love. That's why you brought this game out. So chill a little on the attachment and let your 6-year-old have it. I mean, you say there's no difference.
Yeah.
So that applies.
I would almost argue that even if there was a difference in abilities, maybe since you're playing with a child, you should let them play with a character or piece, and you could do one that you're not as familiar with. So maybe you don't have as much of a competitive advantage. So either way, regardless of the situation, I think he's taking it a little bit too far. I also don't have kids, but we do play a lot of games with our nephew and niece. And we love to do that because we love to introduce them to something that we're excited, passionate about, love to do too. So it's really fun to see them grasp onto the idea of playing board games and a different way to spend family time that's not watching a screen. So to be able to share something that you love with a family member is always really special. And I just think that he is taking that for granted and being so opinionated about which piece that he has. Although I know superstitions do get involved with game players, but I just think it's a little bit too far.
Yeah, and he doesn't call it what we would recognize from a superstition. Like, he doesn't say it's my lucky piece.
Of course.
Or something like that. But he's attached to it, which I can understand. I have stuffed animals from childhood that one of my adorable nieces could ask me for, and my face would be pained immediately because I'd be like, but especially I just imagine this coming down to like colors.
Oh, like, yeah. It's just he wants the red piece, and that's it.
Yeah, and okay.
Is it that deep?
Is it really? I don't know. I'm still on team like, if it's really going to be a thing for you, make it a positive thing.
Yeah.
Make it a like, I dub you the new knight of the red piece. Like, make it,
moving on, but I'm going to pass down to you. Yeah. And make it fun for the child that's playing.
I'm entering my blue era.
Oh yeah.
Like, just make it fun for you in your head if it is going to be a thing that you're sensitive about.
Agreed completely.
Or don't be sensitive.
Yeah. Don't be so
or
sensitive.
Just say, okay, yeah, great. I have the red piece.
And it sounds like it's a children's game too.
It sounds that way. I think we're going to find out in some edits. Well, we're going to make you wait for it.
Okay, that's fair.
So there's still, I think among adults, there's hesitation to take pieces are someone else's favorite color. And like, you'll notice if you play with the same group, you'll be like, oh, you're always red, or oh, you're always purple.
Yeah, like, here you go.
And that's kind of cute. But I think as adults, we tend to be respectful of that. And
100%.
to go, it doesn't matter if I play yellow today.
It's okay. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
I often think that too, if you're the one teaching or hosting the game, it's often courteous to just let the other people choose which pieces that they want first, which naturally happens. I mean, I do agree to the sentiment that I always do navigate towards the purples and the pinks just because I think it's fun to grab those, but it's never anything that I would get super upset over. And I almost feel like he is kind of acting a little bit childish.
We were introducing a game to a couple the other day, and as we were unboxing it, I was like, oh, and one of my other favorites about this game is that it has like this dark teal colored piece, which you don't see as an option. And that's my favorite color. And so then of course my husband like looks at the other husband and is like, you should play with that one. The other husband's like, yeah, right.
Like, that's mine, don't touch it.
And I think it's funny, like, have that rapport, because I would have played with whatever.
It's more of a banter thing, a joking thing.
Yeah.
Not always taken that seriously, though.
So, top comment. You're the problem. This unhealthy attachment isn't normal. It's one thing to prefer one game piece and take it whenever you can, but to not share it after 4 rounds and to basically adopt it as a personality trait is something you should have outgrown years ago.
Oof.
I'm all for personal property. This isn't some kind of hippie communist viewpoint. But come on, it's a board game token. You weren't giving up a limb or the keys to your house. He's like, I'm not saying everything should be communal property. Oh, gosh.
Touché.
So you're the problem. I have board game pieces. I always was when I played as a kid with my siblings. But when my kids want to use that piece, I let them. Yeah. Now I just use whatever piece my kids don't take.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to tell my kids to share, I have to model that behavior.
Very true. It's all about being a good model for your children. And sometimes being a parent means being selfless.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, there's some harsh takes in here.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of, are you okay? You're the problem. I had to reread your post to check I was correctly understanding that it was a grown man of 28 years and not the 6-year-old who doesn't get the concept of sharing. Okay, edit number 1. I love this sub. A lot of you have stated I'm the problem and I will accept that. I see your point and realize I'm acting childish and hold an unhealthy attachment to certain board game pieces. It's a change that makes me feel uncomfortable to do for some reason, but tomorrow I'll let him use that piece if he chooses. Edit number 2. 6-year-old did not have a tantrum and was slightly upset at most. Argument or slight disagreement was between his mother and I. Also, I should note, although it doesn't make much difference, these 4 games weren't in a row, but over a few days. Also, I can share just fine, except for apparently board games I'm attached to from my childhood. I will work on that. So he's saying I can share, except for my favorite board game piece.
Holy moly.
Which, like, all right, love the hobby. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little intense.
Final update. We've played again. I apologized and said he may use the red token, Miss Scarlet in this case.
Clue.
So it was Clue the whole time. And we've agreed going forward, winner of the last game gets first choice of character.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. He plays with another adult, so this isn't unfair. I know if I didn't mention that, a bunch of you would complain about that as well. Some of these comments make me think a lot of you are bigger problems than me, to be honest. All right. So he took some shots as he was going out.
Yes, he did.
But yeah, it was Clue the whole time. It was Miss Scarlet the whole time.
That is so fascinating, honestly. And I think that's, yeah, he definitely has some attachment concerns here.
Yeah. And maybe there's some like neurodivergence at play a little bit here or something like that. But it sounds like, yeah, he's recognized it and said, okay, it does make me uncomfortable for a reason I don't really get, but I'm going to move on.
At least he's being a self-aware king and trying his best to not let it affect his gameplay with his child.
Yeah, we love it. We love a self-aware king.
We'll take it.
Well, speaking of self-aware kings, if that one hadn't recovered, he might have ended up in a story like this next one.
Ooh.
So this touches on something I think parents can do a lot, which is tell you how you could be better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Board games, not board games, you know.
Part of being a parent.
Part of being a kid. Kid, parent,
both.
whatever.
That's dynamic.
So this next story comes from r/AITA. And it says, am I the problem for getting upset over a board game? I, 20 female, enjoy playing games, video or board games for fun, and don't like to initiate competition. I prefer being friendly so no one gets their feelings hurt. Like, oh gosh, I lost. Well, we'll get him next time kind of vibes. On the other hand, my father is extremely competitive, which makes family game night pretty unbearable. My family plays Scrabble. My dad speaks 2 different languages. English is not his first.
I can already see where this is going.
Yeah, and takes a lot of pride in that, so he can act very cocky when playing. Examples. He rushes everyone and tells them to play faster. If you play a word and he sees you could have played elsewhere, he'll always say, you could have gotten a better score here, here, and here. Oh well. If you play a word he doesn't know, he'll take individual letters away and say, turbulent isn't a word, so let's take away the T. Now you have turbulent, and that isn't a word either, so let's take away the N. Turbule isn't, etc., etc. Well, turbulent is a word.
Yeah.
As far as I know. Chime in if it's not. But so giving it, like, he doesn't recognize it, so he'll start like breaking it down. Okay, pal. Sometimes when searching for a word definition or even checking if the spelling is correct because I've forgotten, I'll look up an online dictionary. doing this, my father will say that I'm cheating and Googling how to make words when I'm just checking for a definition, even though he too uses his phone to search for definitions. He will constantly imply that I'm cheating at the game, and if I win, then it's because I Googled how to make words.
Oh, man.
Whenever he does this, it makes me feel like I'm a little dumb idiot who can't come up with words on my own. I read regularly, and I think I have a good vocabulary. It's just irritating when he does this because it makes me feel so stupid. Today, my mom, dad, and I sat down to play a game. On my dad's first turn, he got a word worth 61 points. Shoot, that's a good score. My mom and I said, "Good job." Nothing negative. Throughout the game, I wasn't making the best words. My dad then said it's because I'm not using my phone. I said, "What's that supposed to mean?" And he responded saying that I Google how to make words, and that's why I wasn't doing well. I told him he was being obnoxious and left the game. My mom said I was being dramatic and too sensitive. I said that my dad behaves as if he's smarter than everyone and it makes playing with him insufferable. I go to my room. The game ends and he wins. My dad then makes a comment saying something along the lines of it being good that I stopped playing because of how far behind I was.
Oh, jab.
I then had a fight with my mom because she said I was being ridiculous for walking away. I brought up my father's behavior before and I can't stand it. I'd rather walk away than have my feelings invalidated. He makes me feel like an idiot child who can't think without my phone. I'd rather go read something than waste my time being indirectly insulted for 2 hours. So am I the problem for getting upset? I genuinely don't know if I'm being too sensitive about this.
Yeah, this is interesting because there's always a unique dynamic between parents and their adult children. In this specific scenario, it sounds like dad is being overly competitive, and it also sounds like in some capacity he's trying to be helpful when going through some of the words. Also views her using her phone as cheating and is making some snide remarks about it. So that's another thing that I'm sure we'll have to digest and talk through is that cheating or not? But I think the way that he's delivering said messaging is coming across to her as condescending and belittling, and that's also not fair to her and not a good feeling for anyone, especially playing a game. And it kind of sounds like maybe they just need to play some non-word games that aren't going to cause or stir up this tension, being that he is multilingual and yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think his intention is less important than how she's taking it.
Yeah, and delivery.
I put some mustard on some delivery as I was reading it.
You have to.
Gotta make it fun.
You have to.
But, you know, she feels belittled. She feels not smart. She feels like she's being told she can't do this. She can't perform words. Like she's justifying that she has a good vocabulary. Like this is clearly hurting parts of her self-worth and her ego. So that's really painful. And like you gotta watch that for your kids.
Yeah.
Even if we give him the benefit of the doubt and he doesn't mean anything by it.
Not just your kids in general in life. You never want to make someone feel lesser than, because that's not fair to them, and no person is any better than anyone else, and it's just not a good way to approach social settings, scenarios with other people. And I think that she maybe needs to have a serious conversation with dad and say, hey, I know that game time is supposed to be fun. I love to spend this quality time with you, but I don't think you realize how some of the things that you're saying maybe are hurting me, or the way that they come across to me is that I am feeling not enough. Maybe it will flip a switch in him or make him realize that maybe playing Scrabble is not the best idea, or maybe that he needs to apologize and reiterate to her that she is enough and she is awesome and he loves her very much. Just maybe the wrong idea is portrayed or comes out when they're being competitive and playing a game.
Yeah. I wonder too if this is specifically a game that he feels really good at.
Yeah.
And it's easy for him to fall into a pattern that comes across condescending.
Of course.
Because if you were playing with your friends on equal footing, if someone is giving you advice that you don't want, I think adults eventually are going to say, hey, I got it.
I get it.
We're figure it out. Thank you so much. But no.
Yeah.
But this is a different dynamic because this is a person with who you look up to and who has power over you in some
authority
respect.
figure in some capacity.
Absolutely. And so it's really landing on her very hard. It's landing on her in a way that she really feels lesser about herself. So there's got to be an honest conversation, and it's got to say, hey, you're really hurting me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's your intention or not, but we got to get through this. We got to talk about it. Because the mom just sort of saying she's being dramatic and ridiculous and whatever is not really helping.
No, it kind of sounds like mom and dad might be like avid, I'm making lots of assumptions here, but might be avid Scrabble players and play all the time, and they're just really good at it because they do it often. And it almost sounds like she comes in and doesn't play it as often. And I don't know. You can get like that with any game. If you're not playing it all the time, you're not going to be as great. And then you are self-aware enough to know that you are not as great as it. You don't need someone to rub it in your face and tell you that you're not doing as well as they are too. So that's another component to it as well. He's almost digging deeper with all of it.
Yeah, for sure. And if he's getting 61 points on his first word,
that's quite a lot.
Pretty good. I'm not
applause.
I'm not worried about you and your ability to play this game, but I am worried about your relationship with your daughter.
I think they need to find a new game that everyone is on equal playing field.
Or switch it up,
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty good at like word association games.
For sure.
Like, I think it's called Just One, where you give clues. Like, I think I'm pretty good at stuff like that. In recent years, I've become not very good at dexterity games.
Okay.
Which is funny to me because I played so much ERS in high school and like Slapjack, and I used to be so good.
Yeah.
But we were playing this game called Doink over the holidays, and there's like certain wild cards that come up that are called Doink, and when that happens, you're supposed to like reach in the middle and grab a thing, like spoons.
Yeah, quickness. Yeah,
spoons. And Nathan, my mom and my sister were gloating so hard at how absolutely bad I was.
Oh no.
Because I would I'm like, I'll chat and I'll get into it and I'll have a good time. And then someone will play the Doink card and
you're like,
everything
no.
will just be gone. And I'll be like, oh gosh. So yeah, if you can balance that out, like if there's a game that she can really excel at,
of course,
switch it up.
And at any family gathering, there's always that fun competition, banter, slight jabs at one another. You just have to be really aware that you're not taking it too far to a point where it's condescending or putting anyone down.
Yeah, read the room.
100%.
This comes back to advice we've given,
of course,
I think in every episode.
Yes.
Read the room. All right, so here's the top comment, and it says, not the problem. Don't play with him anymore.
Yep.
If they insist you have to be with them for family time, then just make yourself a cup of tea, sit at the table, and watch them play. Tell them you will be watching, not playing. If they attempt to deal you into the game, let them without saying anything. Then when the game begins and the first person is taking their turn, calmly and quietly put your pieces or whatever back into the bagger box so it's clear you are not participating. If anyone gives you grief, just remind them it's their turn and don't engage further. This person, I think, has very pushy parents. This is a very
clear boundaries.
This is a very specific technique here, which I don't know is the best. It seems a little
harsh.
Little harsh. Okay, this is a hot take. So it quotes OP. And it says, today my mom, dad, and I sat down to play a game. To be fair, after reading your post, that was your first mistake. Your dad sounds like a thoroughly unpleasant person to play games with. Your dad is being obnoxious. He wouldn't dare behave like this to his mates if they were playing together. He wouldn't get away with it. So why do that to his daughter other than to puff his chest up? Because he's a coward and he thinks he can.
Whoa.
Okay. Gosh, people. See, families get you fired up.
Yeah, they do.
Just the family. And then he tries to say, the commenter, whoever they are. Well, it says Mr. Ham Man. Okay. He tries to save it at the end. He says, I'm sure there's many ways he's a lovely person and a good dad. The game's not one of them.
Touche.
Not the problem. Oh, OP responds and says, my dad is great and I love him wholeheartedly, but his attitude when playing games is indeed very unpleasant. After reading the comments, I've decided that I'm not going to play games with him until he starts behaving better. I wasn't sure if me being upset was even valid, but I'm glad other people see it too. Thank you for the response. I appreciate it.
Well, that's good. It sounds like she got some closure that she needed on the situation to know what direction she should go, and hopefully that means a healthier relationship for her and her dad.
Yeah. Agreed. Set those boundaries, but make them a little reasonable. And again, maybe he can improve. All right, so we've had 2 stories on dads. We have to talk about a mom.
Okay.
Make it fair.
Got to.
Gotta be fair. That's what we're about here. Okay. So this next story comes from r/AITA. And it says, am I the problem for targeting my mom during a board game? My mom has a thing about our family playing games. However, we only play games when it's convenient for her. I don't hate playing games with my family, but I do get annoyed when my personal time is suddenly interrupted and I'm made to drop whatever it is I'm doing and just play a game of cards. My sister and I have complained about this before, but it just made my mom double down. Today, Mom made us play a strategy board game called Block Us. My mom is an insanely competitive person. She loves winning, and nothing ruins the fun for her like losing a game. So when I sat down for this game, I decided to be petty and focus on her the entire time. I didn't care about winning. I just wanted to make sure she lost. My little sister apparently had the same idea, and between the two of us, Mom got knocked out halfway through the game, and she immediately went quiet. After the game ended, Mom blew up on us. She yelled at my sister and I for being bad sports and ganging up on her. I admitted that I was targeting her, but I argued that sabotaging someone in a game is just good strategy. I also reminded her that she does this to Dad literally all the time. She said that what we did didn't count as good fun because our intentions were malicious. She said that our goal wasn't just to knock her out of the game. We also wanted to punish her for making us play the game at all. Which is true.
Well, okay.
Which is true. I was trying to ruin her fun in a petty attempt at getting back at her for being made to play this board game. So I apologized and acknowledged that I was being childish. But then she just kept on lecturing. She said, among other things, that this kind of pettiness was the reason why my sister had trouble making friends.
Oh.
That we never do anything for her. And also that my Christmas and Mother's Day gifts for her were bad. And that my sister and I are ungrateful and churlish. It's a word for the Scrabble game.
Yeah.
My mom was supposed to Zoom with my sister's teacher today. Now she says that my sister can handle the meeting on her own and that she won't have anything else to do with my sister's education.
Oh.
Whoa. I just sort of started laughing because all this over a game? Apparently, yes, all this over a game. She didn't appreciate my laughing. I apologized and apologized again for being petty and childish, but I told her that her being a sore loser isn't my responsibility. My dad defended us and pointed out that again, she does the exact same thing when we play games. The difference is that she usually wins, but this time she lost. She didn't appreciate that either and left the house. She still hasn't come back, and now I'm all anxious and uncertain. Am I the problem?
Wow.
No. It doesn't sound like it.
It sounds like this one has also spiraled Completely. My first instinct was to just ask, well, why are you even playing the game with her to begin with if you don't want to? But as it started to talk about teachers and stuff, did it say the age of the OP at the beginning? I can't remember.
It does not.
Sounds like they may be kids, still live at home.
Let's see. My mom is supposed to Zoom with my sister's teacher today. Does not.
At least one of them is
You would
as
think
a kid.
if it was college, they would say professor.
Mm-hmm.
So that does feel like at least
Lives at home.
At least high school or lower.
That brings another interesting dynamic to it because my initial take was just don't play. I always call it Blockus. Just don't play that game with your mom anymore if it's going to cause tension. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a common problem.
It does.
Because she starts by saying, we have to play at times that's convenient for my mom. And my personal time is suddenly interrupted and I'm made to drop whatever it is I'm doing just to play a game.
Huh.
And she says her and her sister have complained about this before. So it sounds like it's not specific to this game. Her mom is very competitive. Her mom wants to play on her own time. And she sounds like she has to win.
Maybe there's a lot of deep cuts here. Maybe there needs to be a family game night at a designated time each week to make it fun for everyone.
Yeah, or like know that it's coming, you know?
I also, the whole other side to the story, if your sole strategy is to sabotage, how that should be taken by the rest of the people playing the game. I mean, we've all been guilty. I know I've been guilty of doing a little sabotage because I don't want someone to win because they win all the time and it gets a little bit frustrating. So I get the desire to sabotage, but when you're only playing on the defensive and not playing on the offensive, that does get a little bit aggravating and frustrating. So I understand why that made mom upset as well.
And I have Blockus. I have played Blockus.
Me too.
Several times. Sabotage is kind of part of it.
Yeah.
To a degree.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be securing your own routes, more important.
Yeah.
But sabotaging someone else that's
a part
like
of the game.
trying to get into your space is so valid. So, but then also like the daughter admits it. She's like, yeah, I was trying to ruin your fun. I was being petty. I'm sorry. And the mom just sort of kept going and brought up a lot of things.
A synonymous thing in a lot of these Reddit posts seems to be that there are deeper rooted issues that are coming out through the act of playing games together with one another. And I mean, naturally, the people you're closest with are the people that those cuts are going to come the deepest because that's just how life works. But it sounds like these game nights are vehicles for during fights and tensions of things that either need to be talked about or are deeper wounds for things that have happened in the past.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, bringing in your Christmas presents is crazy. And then not having anything else to do with my sister's education. Like, I'm hoping that's just her
Emotional.
Speaking out of anger.
Yes.
That's just her sort of having a moment. And we're going to hope that's not really something that's going to happen there.
Seems a bit out of left field.
The one advantage that they do compared to the last story is that the dad is on their side.
Yeah.
And explained, and has made that clear. Gosh, a lot of these takes in the comments are like short and harsh.
Very intense.
Which I get, so for example, not the problem. You and your sister are doing what kids do, and your mom being overly competitive like this can get on your nerves. I get it. Her saying that's the reason your sister can't make friends is pretty terrible. She's being childish herself and needs to get a grip. I'm glad your dad had your back with this and can show her her own hypocrisy. At this point, she can't expect another game night with any of you when she acts like this and pushes all the fun out.
And I'm sure something we'll talk about in a later episode or another time more in depth, but between this story and the first one that we read, there's also this dynamic of how you play a game when you're playing with children or people younger than you or people that don't know how to play. What does that look like? what is that dynamic when you're playing with kids?
Yeah, there's lots of harsh words towards the mom here. Oh, this is a good take. Not a problem. I wouldn't be surprised if the family game night is actually family make me feel good because something made me mad today.
Wow.
Could be. Yeah, I'm not going to get into some of it because it doesn't have to do with games past a certain point. But gosh, yeah, like, you know, what you said just now and what I said at the beginning, sometimes your family are the people that bring out, you know, put the baggage on the board game table.
Yeah,
so.
Very much so.
Well, let's move on from that and take a bit of a palate cleanser for our last little piece here. This comes from r/AskReddit, and it's just a question with responses. But it says, what is an extra rule your family added to a popular board or card game?
Oh.
The top comment says, in Clue. So we're back to Clue.
Okay. Coming full circle.
Once the killer has been discovered and it's one of the pieces in play, the game becomes a chase. The remaining player turns are rolls to get out of the mansion through the doors in the hall.
Huh.
The killer tries to catch the remaining pieces and kill them. Secret passages only work if you roll even numbers in that room. The killer rolls twice per turn and cannot use secret passages.
This sounds like they made up their own game. Sounds
I know,
fun.
they've added a whole part 2 to the game of Clue.
Love it.
Edit, if the killer wasn't one of the player pieces, then the game is over. They couldn't defend themselves and surrendered after being discovered.
That's fun. I like that.
Says, my father-in-law keeps notes of who has wronged him with a series of annotations beside the score.
Oh my God.
Very personal.
So he is making game night very personal intentionally.
I love that. Oh man, this is where my mind went. It went like, oh, okay, minus $1,000 from the will.
Getting real serious.
Yep. I hope you really enjoyed winning that game.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
In Monopoly, we have a rule that my sister can't be the banker. Otherwise, it's like watching Ocean's 11.
Oh no.
And it says my sister growing up seemed to win every time she was banker.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah, funny about that. We had one of the electronic banks die, so it was easier to cheat. She can't shake the name Crooked Banker for any game we play, including games that have no bank aspect to them. If a roll in Parcheesi is suspect, it's because she's the Crooked Banker.
Oh no. She's built a rapport. Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, this is crazy. Okay. I really like running Monopoly with 2 D20s instead of the default 6s. Makes it a lot more chaotic.
Okay.
Because you roll high, you're around the board in
multiple times.
A turn. That's crazy. Oh, this is cute. This is an inclusivity post.
Love it.
Said my grandmother was deaf and mute, so when we played Uno, instead of saying Uno, we knocked on the table quickly twice.
Oh, I love that.
And this is the response. When my mother-in-law was suffering from dementia, we would play Uno with her and just let her play any card she wanted to play.
Oh.
She was at a point where she couldn't follow the rules of the game, but she did understand that she should put down a card when it was her turn. So we just let her play whatever she wanted. It introduced a fun, chaotic element to the game, and she got to enjoy participating and spending time with us.
Oh, that's the sweetest.
That's lovely.
I love that.
So cute.
Have you ever had a situation where you have bended your rules or made unique rules?
Back to my reference of the horse game.
Yeah.
My sister and I both picked favorite horses because you're supposed to draw like randomly from a deck. But if your favorite came up,
have to.
You would trade. And it was fine. And we sort of got through it. And it's so funny. I look back now and my favorite from back in the day was Candy Apple. And she very much has like a My Little Pony vibe. She's just wide and cute and like has sort of perfect hair. And I'm like, that is so funny because the one that I would pick today would be so aesthetically different than my favorite from when I was, 10 to 12.
So opposite. That is a great story. My family has notoriously added timers to games that do not have timers to prevent people from taking too long on their turn.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one for me.
Fair play for
Yeah.
that. That's the kind of thing that would stress me out, but I would also go, yeah, okay.
That's fair. Maybe I'm taking a little too long.
Yeah. Got it. That's really good. Well, that's our stories for today. Hopefully you got some tips, advice, or at least entertainment out of it. Before you go, we'd love your thoughts on the stories discussed here. Check out our links in the show notes. And if you'd like to submit your own story or quandary for us to discuss, send them to the Game Table Podcast Discord. Have fun in your next game, and we'll catch you again here on Table Topics.